The Lord of the Rings character who defeats Morgoth, according to Tolkien's prophecy, isn't as powerful as you'd expect. The Lord of the Rings lore extends to a fascinating prophecy that concerns Morgoth's return and final defeat at the hands of a surprising hero. The Lord of the Rings was written by high fantasy master J.R.R. Tolkien and released in 3 parts between 1954 and 1955. However, it only contained a fraction of the lore of Middle-earth. The Hobbit was published in 1937. Along with Lord of the Rings, this novel formed the basis of Peter Jackson's Hobbit and Lord of the Rings trilogies. But the surprising hero of Morgoth's defeat is only mentioned in the Silmarillion. This ancient hero was called Turin Turambar, and he is featured in many of Tolkien's best First Age stories. The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings are set in the Third Age, while Amazon Prime Video's The Lord of the Rings. The Rings of Power is set in Lord of the Rings' Second Age. However, some of Tolkien's best work occupies the First Age, which is only briefly touched on in Lord of the Rings appendices, and has therefore barely been adapted for the screen. Notably, the Silmarillion and the history of Middle-earth describe First Age tales like Turin and his prophecy. The prophecy of Turin Turambar and Morgoth explained. The prophecy of Morgoth's defeat at the hands of Turin Turambar was called the Second Prophecy of Mandos and concerned the Dagor Dagorath. Lord of the Rings Vala Morgoth was predicted to break out of his prison in the Void to wage war on Middle-earth once again, while Turin was destined to stop him. This unique prophecy was contentious in Lord of the Rings lore. Tolkien entrusted the Silmarillion to his son, Christopher, to edit and publish after his death, but Christopher agonized over what to include and ended up leaving out the Dagor Dagorath. As Morgoth was the first villain of Lord of the Rings, Turin's importance and victory really can't be overstated. Despite this, it is constantly alluded to throughout the Silmarillion. After this text's release, Christopher published the 12-volume History of Middle-earth series containing material he had left out of the Silmarillion and his reasons for leaving it out. One such snippet was the Prophecy of the Last Battle, or Dagor Dagorath. In this battle, Turin tackled Morgoth with the Vala Tulkas and the Maya Anwi, but was the one to kill him with his sword. As Morgoth was the first villain of Lord of the Rings, Turin's importance and victory really can't be overstated. Turin belonged to the race of men in the Lord of the Rings lore, which is surprising. It is shocking that Turin Turambar was able to defeat Morgoth as a mere man when Middle-earth's strongest armies struggled to defeat him. Morgoth was one of the 15 Valar before he disgraced himself and was disowned from their ranks. The Valar were the strongest Aenir in existence, the Aenir being the semi-divine beings created by Middle-earth's god Eru Ilúvatar. In the First War in the Days Before Days, it took another Vala to chase Morgoth into hiding. Turin's mortality rendered Morgoth difficult for him to defeat, and yet he prevailed. This same Vala, Tulkas, needed a magical chain to take Morgoth down in the Battle of the Powers. This was the second time that Tulkas defeated Morgoth in Lord of the Rings. Tulkas also partook in the Dagor Dagorath, and Turin possibly couldn't defeat Morgoth without him. It took a man, Elendil, and an elf, Gil-galad, to topple Sauron in person in the War of the Last Alliance, but Isildur finished him off by chopping the one ring off his finger. Perhaps Tulkas and Inwi felled Sauron in the Dagor Dagorath, while Turin struck the killing blow. Is Turin connected to Aragorn from the Lord of the Rings? There are obvious parallels between Turin Turambar and Aragorn, who are distantly related. The relationship between Turin and Aragorn is so far off that it would have little to no effect on Aragorn's actual biological constitution, but it is highly symbolic. Lineage is hugely important in Lord of the Rings, demonstrating how love can unite two people against great odds and have a child greater than their parents, only capable of incredible things due to both of their influences. The greatest power in Lord of the Rings was born of love, not magical rings.